The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. At least 24 people have reportedly died after 1 million successful vaccinations in the country. To give us more information on this, we have JC Cosico joining us live from Mandaluyong. JC, good afternoon. Could you tell us how many were inoculated with Sinovac and with AstraZeneca?
Charles, of these 24 deaths, 10 individuals had Sinovac shots, while 14 individuals had AstraZeneca shots. These 24 deaths were recorded after the Philippines reached 1 million vaccinations early this month. Charles.
Right, JC, do we know what were the immediate causes of these post-vaccination deaths, and how did the health department explain these?
Charles, FDA Director General Eric Domingo said that most of these deaths were coincidental, as many of these deaths or these individuals who died had comorbidities. In fact, 11 of them had COVID-19, while 8 others had heart disease, and 3 others had infectious disease, other COVID-19, while the remaining 2 deaths remained pending. Charles.
Right, do we have any updates, JC, on these reported blood disorders for those who are taking AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson vaccines?
Charles, DG Domingo said that as we speak, there are no local cases of any blood disorders from from AstraZeneca jabs. But what they are doing right now is they are going to intensify the early detection so that as soon as these cases are reported, they know what to do, and they're also going to issue guidelines regarding this. Charles.
Right. One of the other vaccine brands that we're closely watching, JC, is Moderna. Could you tell us why Moderna has not yet applied for emergency use in the Philippines?
Charles, DG Domingo said that Moderna is still finalizing some logistics issue, but what the FDA is doing right now is they are reading journals on the efficacy of the vaccine so that once it applies for an EUA, process will be fast-tracked. Charles.
JC, could you tell us more about the expected rollout for the A4 vaccine priority sector?
Charles, DOH Undersecretary Mirna Kabutahe said that if we have enough supplies of COVID-19 vaccines, the rollout of the vaccines for the A4 sector might begin in June. And as we speak, guidelines for the A4 vaccination is being drafted by the government. Charles.
Thanks for those updates, JC. That was JC Cosico reporting live from Mandaluyong. We'll be back with more stories after a quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. The DILG warns the public against crossing borders for aid. This follows reports that some people visited other localities to pick up goods from community pantries. Marian Enriquez with the story.
Tatay Gregorio walked for 2 hours to get goods from community pantries in Quezon City. The 54-year-old Marikina resident was able to get 2 plastic bags of goods in Maginhawa and other nearby pantries.
Wala kayo doon?
Ha?
Wala masyado doon?
Wala, mga ano lang, ang bilis maubos, hindi ka kaya dito, pinakita sa TV, baka sakali.
Our team also chanced upon Lilia, who fell in line as early as 10 a.m. to get goods from a community pantry in Matapang Street, Quezon City. The 69-year-old resident from Barangay Pinyahan said she sat in the gutter for 3 hours waiting for her turn.
Kailangan po nila, walang ibang hanap buhay, walang nabubuhay sa akin. Namatay na yung anak ko, ako lang mag-isa.
Architect Ralph Ruiz, one of the organizers of the Matapang Community Pantry, hurriedly set up the table upon seeing the long queue. They are now on their 3rd day of operations.
Kasi right now, yan po, as much as gusto natin matulungan, nasa back of my mind, di ko alam kung lahat po mabibigyan. Pero we will do our best every day para makabawas din ng pressure sa Maginhawa and other communities as well.
Ruiz said more people had trooped to their stall when Maginhawa Community Pantry temporarily halted operations on Monday. While the Interior Department supports the initiative, an official cautioned the public against crossing cities to line up for community pantries. Undersecretary Martin Dino told One News the chiefs that there are safety risks in this.
Nanggaling ng Marikina, galing ng ibang lugar at papasok sa isang barangay, patatapos lang po natin sa ECQ. Doon nga sa barangay, nagpasok lang ng lugaw, naging issue na. Ganun sila kahigpit dahil pinangangalagaan natin yung paghawa-hawa nitong COVID-19.
Dino clarified that crossing cities is not illegal. He then called on barangays and other local officials to ensure that minimum health standards are being followed in community pantries. Around 300 community pantries have popped up nationwide as many Filipinos can only count on one another to survive the pandemic. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Some senators continue to call to defund the NTF-ELCAC amid its increased red tagging of community pantry organizers. But Senate President Tito Soto believes the entire agency should not suffer for the mistakes of its officials. Lynn Olivario with the details.
The country's anti-insurgency task force finds itself in hot water yet again. The task force had previously made headlines for red tagging celebrities, lawyers, and even lawmakers. This time, they got their sights trained on community pantry organizers. Several senators are now calling for the defunding of the NTF-ELCAC due to the relentless red tagging done by its 2 spokespersons. But Senate President Tito Soto believes the entire agency should not be defunded altogether. Speaking on One News' The Big Story, Soto said only the task force's irresponsible officials must be removed from their posts.
Perhaps about General Parade and 1 or 2 members of the NTF-ELCAC. That's how I size it up. Because the NTF-ELCAC, or the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflicts, has been a very good program, a successful program that was not thought of by the previous administrations to end the conflicts with the NPA and other rebels.
Senator Win Gatchalian agrees that NTF-ELCAC's officials have been rather irresponsible. The senator tells 1PH sa totoo lang that the task force's leaders must admit to flaws in their organization and communication.
Ganitong mga statements at ganitong mga pahiwatig na lumalabas sa mga spokesmen ng NTF-ELCAC ay para sa akin mawawala ng tiwala ang mga senador at ang taong bayan kung magagamit ng tama itong malaking pondong ininagay dito.
But unlike Soto, Gatchalian believes there's a possibility that the agency might lose its funding as it could be reallocated to other measures like the Bayanihan 3 law.
Ang Bayanihan 3 in effect, no, bibigyan po ng kapangyarihan ang Pangulo at ang Kongreso. Ang Kongreso gagamitin din nila yung kanilang kapangyarihan para mag-reallocate ng pondo. So sa ganitong punto, pwedeng magalaw, no, yung pondo nila.
In the same program, former Senator Orly Mercado tells critics of community pantries to shut their mouths if they're not doing anything to help. He also commended the pantry's organizers for helping Filipinos put food on their tables in this time of crisis.
Pero pag sinasabi ng isang police general na tapos sinasabi, ininsulto pa, paiyak-iyak ka pa rin, etc. You know, maiyak ka talaga pag merong general na may barilya, may organisasyon, may tsapa, tapos sinabing komunista ka. Marami may toyo sa utak dito. Babarilin ka na lang sa kalsada. Hindi natin kalaban ang taong bayan. Ang kalaban kahirapan. Poverty is the enemy.
Mercado said NTF-ELCAC's budget can instead be used to help Filipinos experiencing extreme poverty, which causes communist insurgency in the first place.
Pero may isipin mo 19 billion, kahit na kalahati lang yan, ipamudbud mismo doon ngayon as ayuda sa lahat ng mga tao niya. Tapos bakunahan mo lahat yung mga tao niya. Naku, napakalaki ng magiging utang na loob nila sa tao sa gobyerno.
Despite also criticizing the NTF-ELCAC's operations, Senate Minority Leader Frank Drilon believes the government cannot defund the agency just yet. Speaking with the chiefs, Drilon explained that since the General Appropriations Act of 2021 has already been enacted into law, lawmakers can no longer tamper with the task force's 19 billion peso budget. Instead, the senator simply wants NTF-ELCAC to submit an accounting of how these funds are utilized. Although Drilon added that the president can still realign a majority of their funding for COVID-19 response. Drilon also claimed that Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade Jr. should not have been allowed to occupy his position at the NTF-ELCAC in the first place.
I think he's Major General in the armed forces. He occupies a position in the NTF-ELCAC, which is a civilian position. And that violates the rules of the Constitution. And these are one of my disappointments. Hindi na pinapakinggan ng Senado.
For News 5, Lynn Olivario, We Are One News.
And those are the top stories of the hour. Join us later at 1 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on Signal Play. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.